After his sitcom ended in 1997, Martin Lawrence would ride his popularity and step easily into the world of feature films. Before his hit show was even over, Martin starred alongside Will Smith in Bad Boys, and he headlined his first solo film, a comical riff on Fatal Attraction in 1996's A Thin Line Between Love and Hate. So Lawrence was certainly familiar with big screen acting, and from 97 to 99 he would star in a trio of movies, one of them being the hilarious 1999 action comedy Blue Streak. We're going to dive into the behind the scenes and on the screen details of this slightly forgotten gem, so let's get into it. Hey, what's happening out there, guys? Thank you for stopping by the channel. I hope you're all fantastic. If you are new here, welcome to Movies Never Say Die. This is your one-stop shop for 80s and 90s retro movie content. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that fun stuff if you enjoy the video. Now, today we're talking about one of my all-time favorite guilty pleasure films. The conveniences and the absurdity in this film are evident. However, the amusement and just the overall hyper-realistic atmosphere that Blue Streak delivers easily makes it a feel-good film for me.
If you're ready, if you're not, it don't matter. Here we go. It's that naughty group of shouters that we're beating like a drum.
The idea for Blue Streak came from producer Tony Jaffe. The script was written by Michael Berry and John Blumenthal. Berry and Blumenthal had also worked together on a comedy from 1990 called Short Time, and a third writer, Stephen Carpenter, who also had just a few writing credits under his belt at the time of this film, would come in and do page one revisions. And overall, I would say the trio was able to deliver more than a capable enough story for the needs of fueling Lawrence's brand of humor, while also delivering appealing action that never abandons its comedic roots. Now, Blue Streak is actually inspired by the 1965 comedy The Big Job, and it runs very similarly to that film's progression, to the point it would easily be considered a remake in today's Hollywood. That film would center on a group of thieves who steal this case of money. They hide it in a hollowed out tree before getting caught, and when they get out of prison, they learn that the tree is now in the center of a police department plaza. In Blue Streak, Lawrence's Miles Logan steals this diamond. He hides it in the ventilation ducts of a building under construction. He gets caught, and when he gets out of prison, he finds the building is now a police station, so it's undeniable that they parallel each other very closely. Regardless of the recycled story beats, it's a great plot for an action comedy, and it works perfectly for this film because Blue Streak is a mindlessly fun riot. Columbia Pictures would like the concept for Blue Streak as well, and production would be given a green light with a budget of $65 million, which initially may sound high, but you want to remember this was the peak of Martin's popularity. He was able to enter the $20 million club in Hollywood, meaning he was without question an A-list in the industry next to names like Jim Carrey, Eddie Murphy, Adam Sandler, and Chris Tucker, because it was the 1990s and comedy was riding high at the box office. Martin was reportedly also in negotiations on a two-film deal with Columbia Pictures. One movie would be National Security and the other was intended to be Blue Streak 2. There reportedly was a sequel in early development back in 2001. The plot would see Wilson's Carlson finding Lawrence's Logan down in Mexico to recruit him to help foil a bomb threat. Martin would ultimately make National Security with Steve Zahn in 2003, but there never would be a sequel, and Martin's next couple of films would be with 20th Century Fox following Blue Streak, so it doesn't appear that he was able to get a deal inked out with Columbia Pictures. As for the production of Blue Streak, it would run relatively smooth despite some revisions to the tone and to the script in places. During pre-production, Blue Streak was actually intended to be an adult action comedy with an R rating. Columbia Pictures wanted that PG-13 rating to appeal to a wider audience, so the language and the tone overall had to be dialed back a bit. This meant changes to certain plot beats and certain comedic situations and to the dialogue, so John August was brought in as a script doctor to make these revisions. However, it's been stated in interviews from director Les Mayfield that there were many improvisations made throughout shooting, especially after the casting of Lawrence in the lead, and I certainly think you can tell that by watching.
Fight crime. You know, shit like that.
Now, as for casting, it seems Lawrence was the focal choice from the jump. I couldn't dig up any information on other actors who were in consideration for this part, but I gotta say Lawrence was a great option for this role, as he's extremely likable, very charismatic, and he can do the action. And I mean, there's no denying he's hilarious. I think he's easily able to carry this film, and I don't really know of many other actors who could have done Miles Logan better than Martin Lawrence did for this movie. However, he's not alone in Blue Streak, because I do think the ensemble cast from top to bottom is very strong for the needs of their roles. First is Luke Wilson as Carlson. I think he's a very underrated actor. Carlson is the straight by the book character to Martin's eccentric and comedically intense Logan, and I think Wilson is great in this role as the bumbling and naive but surprisingly capable rookie detective. He has his moments to land his own laughs, but he also plays so well off Lawrence, and I think their balance of humor is just absolutely amusing for the needs of this movie. Then there's Dave Chappelle as Logan's friend Tully. This was actually supposed to be just a one-day shoot for Chappelle, but the chemistry between Lawrence and Chappelle and the comedic brilliance of Chappelle was immediately evident, so the story was once again rewritten, and his role was greatly expanded up to the number 3 character on the call sheet. This certainly was a smart move, because I think every time Lawrence and Chappelle are on the screen together, laughter is the result, and that's exactly what you want from this type of movie.
Now this is gonna hurt a little bit. Huh? I say this is gonna hurt a little bit.
And rounding out the focal cast, in my opinion, is the most essential character to a film, and that would be the villain. And for the heavy and Blue Streak, we get the always awesome Peter Green, who plays Deacon, the slimy partner who double crosses Logan in the beginning of the film, causing him to get caught by the police. I don't know. Green just has a very villain-esque face. His eyes are intense, and his character in this movie is very smart and calculated and relentless. And despite the lighthearted atmosphere of Blue Streak, Green plays Deacon with more than enough of a sadistic vibe to provide this movie with a great bad guy. Now, filming for Blue Streak would take place from January to April of 1999 throughout parts of Southern California. Most of the focal shooting would take place at Sony Pictures Studios in Culver City. Other locations used were Santa Clarita and downtown LA and Dusty Fontana and Venice, as well as other spots. The building used for the police station was actually the LA Central Public Library. Production actually built a massive facade and fastened it in pieces to the exterior of the building like giant pieces of Legos. Once completed, Blue Streak would drop into theaters on September 17th of 1999. It would take the number 1 spot at the box office with a strong $19.2 million opening weekend in over 2,700 theaters. Domestically, Blue Streak would haul in over $68.5 million. International sales would bring the total of the film up to $117.8 million. Now, you may think that passing $100 million for a comedy like this would be a success, but it must not have been enough for the studio, because they never did greenlight that planned sequel, which is a bummer because I enjoyed this movie. Audiences seemed to dig it, but the critical reviews were mostly lackluster, so that could have forecasted the potential of a stale sequel to the studio heads.
Don't do me like this. Oh.
Another strength of Blue Streak would certainly be the music. I think the soundtrack is filled with great songs from names like Tyrese and Jay-Z and Ja Rule and Heavy D and the Jungle Brothers and Kelly Price and many others. The Blue Streak album would actually peak at number 31 on the Billboard 200 and at number 9 on the Billboard Top R&B and Hip Hop list. I also think it must be said the musical scoring from Edward Shearer in this movie is absolutely perfect for the jovial caper vibe of this film's plot. The scoring, I think, just creates such a charming mood that fits this story perfectly. So when you put all these pieces together, to me the result is a hilarious ride with an engaging story that has just enough moving pieces and plenty of effective humor, from the dialogue to situational. I think the sense of humor in this film is relentless, and Blue Streak is a strong comedy first, and it incorporates the action perfectly as a complement to the laughs. It's certainly silly, it's definitely mindless. The characters, they're all exaggerated characters of tried and true character types who we know, and everything just gels together nicely. You get the focal plot of Logan trying to go undercover as a detective to retrieve his diamond inside the police station. This is where he's assigned up to a partner with Carlson, and instead of being able to get straight to his scavenger hunts, he has to go out and actually be a detective. He goes out on a case with Carlson where he eventually crosses paths with his own friend Tully, so there are frequent close calls when it comes to his cover being blown.
Who's he talking to? I don't know. He high, man. He's hallucinating, smoking that shit. He's high.
On top of this, you get the villain as Deacon. He knows Logan's out of jail. He knows that he's looking for the diamonds. So with Deacon hot on his trail, you can feel it looming in the background. Then you get Logan and Carlson getting pulled into an international drug trafficking operation involving the FBI, where Logan's criminal mind proves to make him a capable detective. So I think the film is just constantly moving forward. It doesn't recycle jokes and situations. And while not all the attempts at humor land, I think Blue Streak is a hilarious romp, and I think Lawrence shines in the lead. There's just a lot of things going on in this movie to make it easily engaging. The film starts very quickly with the diamond heist. Then you get the alley standoff with Tully, which is hilarious. The shootout inside the convenience store is comical as well, particularly with Wilson. The interrogation scenes are funny, both with the driver and with Tully. And in true Martin sitcom fashion, he gets to put on a costume when he portrays Ghetto Buck, the pizza delivery driver. And it's just one of my favorite sequences in the film. And when he leads the officers in the meeting at the police station and launches into his karate, it's just great. So there are so many comedic bits in this movie that are very effective. And to me, Blue Streak just puts the right pieces in the right place. It's well paced, it delivers endless humor, it closes with perfect doses of action, the finale is filled with just enough spectacle, just enough gusto, but it never forgets the comedy at the core. It's certainly ridiculous, it's heavily cartoonish, and that's why it's just a hysterical escape into a hyper reality where a jewel thief turns into a detective to find a diamond hidden in a police station. And with its late 1999 release, it's one of the great last action comedies of the decade. And that's it for today, guys. That wraps up this little retrospective look back at Martin Lawrence's Blue Streak. I think it's a great ride. I've seen it countless times. If you haven't seen it, I couldn't recommend more seeking it out. I think it's on Netflix right now, but it's without a doubt worth a look if you like action comedies, if you like Martin Lawrence as well. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I greatly appreciate you all. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope to see you in my next video, and until then, movies never say die.
Jack Burton in the Pork Chop